I am like over the top just being here right now and worshiping with you guys this morning. I can't, just tears and stuff are coming out. You know, it's like a cleansing time. I don't know. Like, how you do, okay? I do how I do. And that's how I do. Because I know that I am heaven touching earth. I want you to know this morning that you are heaven touching earth. We're not waiting for anything. I want you to know this morning, you don't have to wait for anything. You don't have to wait to be back in this building. You don't have to wait to go out somewhere. You are heaven touching earth. At all times, you are heaven touching earth. I hear Kim Walker sing that song, heaven touching earth, all that stuff. And I'm thinking, that's me. Right, Stevie? That's me. Aaron, is that you? That's us. We are heaven touching earth. And because we are heaven touching earth, this revelation that we have inside of us, it requires participation. Revelation requires participation. Can you say that? Revelation requires participation. It does no good just standing inside of here. It doesn't do any good sitting on your... Now listen, I get alone with God. I had amazing moments last night, this morning, throughout quarantine, 3 months. I had amazing moments with my God. Amazing moments. Revelatory moments. Times prepared to bring word. But there's something about stepping into that revelation. We have to step into the revelation of what we are, or it doesn't do anybody any good. It doesn't do anybody good around us. So if I'm heaven touching earth with a revelation inside of me that's not reaching someone, what good is it? It's no good. I mean, it's good in what it is. But if my job is heaven touching earth, then my job is to touch you. My job is to touch my friends. My job is to touch my parents. My job is to touch my siblings. My job is to touch everyone around me. In my words, in my actions. I say this morning, and I say it like in the most cautious way possible here, okay? This church is based on revelation. We have a revelation, sonship, kingdom message. You know, there's a lot of things that we believe that other people don't believe. But right now, I don't want you to get tangled up in anything else besides the revelation that God's put into your heart right now. Don't worry about doctrine. Don't worry about anything else right now. Just as I'm speaking, just think about the revelation that God's given to you as a son. That's given to you as a daughter. What is it that stirs you? What is it inside of you? The doctrine is truth, and it's going to stand from age to age. It's going to stand from age to age. It's never going to be moved. It's unmovable. It's truth. I want to talk about Abraham this morning for a minute, but there was one thing about God that I told Aim this morning on the way to church here. Do you know that God doesn't have plan B? There's no plan B. There never was plan B. He just says there's the plan, and we follow the plan. And sometimes we don't follow the plan. So sometimes we mess up, and sometimes bad things happen, but then we get back on our horse and we ride with the revelation that we've been given, that's been granted to us, the sacred thing, the God's spoken word to us through his prophets. I love y'all. It's just so good. It's so good to realize that I can stand in the revelation that God gave me and breathe and live life and not worry. when I look back on my life and I look at all the times that I didn't have money or I didn't have food and I didn't have this or that, and then I look at where I am now, isn't it weird when you look back on your life, you see where you were, and you reflect back on those times, but then you see where you are now, and you're like, ooh, yeah, baby, let's move. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Revelation's all about. It's about motion. It's about participation. It's about you being involved in what God's given you. So it's time for the relaunch. Are you ready for a relaunch? And you know, what does the relaunch look for you? What's it look like for you? What's your relaunch look like for you? Have you figured it out? You had 3 months. You had some time on your hands. What I think was really cool is the fact that we had like 3 prophets come through. We had Andre, we had Jen Tringal, and we had Dee Dee last week. We had 3 prophets come through, just dropping words on us. Just dropping words. So I kind of did a little conglomeration of a 3-step process here. If you don't know what your instructions are, I want to let you know this morning what your instructions are. Because I want to make sure that you heard the prophets. I want to make sure that you heard what they were saying. So here's a little guidance. 1, run with vision. Let God define your vision with precision. That's what Jen Tringal was talking about. You still have vision. Didn't go anywhere. You didn't give up anything, did you? I hope you didn't give up anything. Well, coronavirus is here, or the quarantine's here. Things are holding me back. You didn't give up anything, I hope, did you? Jen was saying, run with vision. We're going to run with vision. She was saying precision is imperative. Last week we had Dee Dee in. He says, watch your speech. Things react when you speak. Stop glory shedding. Do you realize the power that are in your words? The power that are in the words that we just speak to our friends. When Pastor David and I get around the coffee maker on Friday morning, the words that we speak have actually spoke a lot of things into existence. Where he champions me on, or I champion him on. Or my wife champions me on, and I champion her on. Or whoever I'm in conversation, are you championing on the person that you're with? Or are you trying to hold something down because you don't want somebody to go past you? Which leads me to my third point. And I said this a while ago, back in October, but Andre came and he's talked about staying in your lane and don't play the blame game. He said, religions are going to blame other religions for this and for that, and there's going to be a lot of finger pointing going on. Don't be involved in the finger pointing, because every time there's one pointed out, there's one pointed back at you. 3 back? So 1, let's run with our vision. What ministry directors in this house? Are you running with the vision? Have you made a plan? Are you moving? I just wanted to speak to you specifically this morning because we're coming back into something now. We're here. What's going on? What's your ministry look like? Do you need to call a little family meeting, a little tribal meeting? Get things back in order. Scheduling and all that stuff will do that, but what's the vision? What's the vision? So we need to run with vision. We need to watch our speech. We need to stay in our lane. So that means that if we stay on course, don't be distracted, and guard our church, we're going to receive the blessing. That's it. Stay on course, don't be distracted, guard the church, and receive a blessing. That's all I have to do. I want you to know that it's easy. It's easy. And you know what's even easier? The blessing of God is even easier. God's blessing is so easy. Stay on course. Don't be distracted. Guard your church. Guard your tribe. Don't let words go out that you can't get back. Receive your blessing. Why? Why does it happen this way? I want you to know this morning that it happens this way because you are qualified and you have never been modified. Do you know that? That you are qualified, you've never been modified. There's no, I got to take a look under the hood. What's that thing with the Dr. Seuss? God never had to take a look under your hood. He's never had to. He's qualified you from the beginning. He's never had to modify you. All he wanted you to do is step into your blessing. All he wanted you to do is step up and receive. That's what he wants. He wants you to step up and receive. Because we've been qualified, we've never been modified. Salvation did not modify you. The Holy Spirit did not modify you. You've been qualified. Luke 15 talks about the parable of the prodigal son. How the father qualified the son. The father qualified the son, but the son had to step into his qualification. His son had to step into it. I can qualify my children all I want. Ava, you can do it. Kaya, you can do it. Stop listening to that phone. You can do it. I'm kidding. You can do it. I qualified you. I give you all the right. I did everything. You can go to college. You can get the degree. You can get qualified. But until you operate on that patient, you don't know if you're successful or not. So it's that participation in that revelation that's going to make you know what's real. It's not just the alone time with God. It's not just the prayer time with God. It's the real time with God. It's the real time out on the streets, when you're with your friends, when you're at work. What are you doing? It's that real time. And that's what Luke 15 was screaming volumes at me about. How the Father qualifies us. So now just take this as your God, your Father, Abba. He's qualified you. He's qualified you. And now he's just sitting there going, okay, now step into your qualification. Just step into it. No, don't look back. You don't have to look back. Don't worry about, if you want to look back, yeah, you look back and see where you came from and see what I qualified you into. You can see that. When you can see what the Father has qualified you into, you'll never want to ever look back. You'll never want to look back. Because you realize that the goodness of God, what he leads us to, it outweighs everything. When I was sitting there in worship this morning, all I could do was look at Dave and Steve and Blake and Eric, all these guys playing, and realizing what we've been called into. Do you know what you've been called into? Do you realize that you are heaven touching earth? Because you are the temple of God. It's your feet that walk across this earth. So it's your job to walk across, being qualified, stepping into your qualification. Realizing there's no modification along the way. There's nothing that's modifying me. It's just me stepping into my qualification, stepping into my baptism, stepping into what I need to get the job done. Amen. Because the thoughts, it is really important to have thoughts. It's really important to have that revelation. It's really important to realize that you're a son. It's really important, I want to thank Bill Haller again for doing that 6-week course with me in the virtual cafe. If you didn't see it, it's on Facebook. Go back, watch it. It's probably on YouTube. I think they're uploading on YouTube now too. But watch that. Watch where you came from, who you are, what you've stepped into. And when you begin to think about that, you're able to step into it. We were sitting at a graduation party for my niece. And Aim looks up and she looks around and she says, a lot of thought went into this. A lot of thought went into this party. They need a tent, they need tables, they need food. But then the day of action arrived. I want you to know that your day of action is here. You've been thinking. You've had 3 months to think. You've had lots of time to think. What's the action step that you're taking now? These Wednesday nights when we're getting together every Wednesday during the month of July here, we're performing building projects. We want to put some carpet on the stage here. We want to put carpet up, or we have some linoleum for upstairs. We have things we want to do, and lights to hang, and walls to paint, and rooms to clean, and cobwebs to get out of the corners. To welcome our tribe back in. A lot of thought went into this. But then the day of action comes. That Wednesday night comes. Do you step into that action? Am I calling you to work on Wednesday night right now? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. This is our house. We're going to clean it. This is our house. We're going to build it. This is our house. We're going to celebrate together in it. This is our house. We're going to worship together. This is our house. We're going to preach together. This is our house we are going to live in. And I don't want to do it with anybody else but you guys. Isn't that the way you feel? It's like you look around. Everyone, just take a look around. Just look around. Look at all the faces. Maybe there's a new face. Do you want to do church with anybody else? No. No. Don't want to. Don't want to do it. But your thoughts become something. Your thoughts become your action steps. And you need to step into action. You need to step into the revelation. You need to be a participant in the revelation in order for this thing to work for you. What is this thing? This thing is your life. This thing is your relationship. This thing is your faith with God. How far are you willing to take it? How far are you willing to take your relationship with God? He's limitless. He's absolutely 100% limitless, and he wants you to know that. He wants you to know that he loves you. He cares for you. He wants you to succeed. He doesn't need to modify you or tweak you, give you some nitrous to get you going on the road, Doesn't need to give you anything. He gave you everything. Same went for Abraham. We'll read out a little Passion Translation here. Genesis chapter 17. Craziness. They're going to label this the covenant of circumcision. I am not. A lot more happened in Genesis 17 than that. But that was that was the action step. When Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to him again and said, I am the God who is more than enough. Live your life in my presence and be blameless. I will confirm my covenant between me and you, and I will greatly multiply your descendants. Then Abraham fell on his face in awe before God, and God said to him, I establish my covenant with you. That was his first action step. His first action step was falling on the ground in humility. That humility, as the revelation was coming to him, he falls, hits the ground in humility. God then goes on to make the covenant with him. You'll be a father of many nations. You will no longer be named Abram because I have changed your name to Abraham. Why? Abram means exalted father. Abraham is the father of a multitude. Abram means exalted father. Abraham, father of a multitude. And God was saying, we need fathers. We need fathers. We need to disciple people. We need to bring them up. You know, Mike, that's why I was laughing in the prayer room. I was looking at the pictures in the prayer room. You ever look at pictures in the prayer room? I was looking at the pictures in the prayer room, and I said, And Mike says to me, I want to know what God says to you when you say, because I know he says something to you. And he did. I looked at the picture, and I saw Margie, and I saw my mom, and I saw Zoe in the next picture. And I was looking at the transition in generations. How are you going to transition your generation? Are you going to transition like Abraham did? Will you transition like Abraham did? Now, he went on later on in the chapter to falling on his face in laughter, laughing at God, because God said, oh yeah, also, your wife is going to have a baby. It says he fell on the ground with laughter. I'm thinking, what a putz. Listen, I'm being for real, because this dude just got called the father of all these nations. And then he thinks that his wife can't have a baby. Why? The whole time, and let's get back to the word, I'll show you why. God spoke out loud, oh, that Ishmael might prosper with your blessing? See, Abraham was still stuck. He was still stuck on plan B. He thought he had his baby. He thought everything was just, okay, it's just going to come through this. But no, he went on to say, no, I'm going to take care of Ishmael. I'm going to take care, don't worry about him, but you're still going to have a baby, and the father of the nations is going to come through Isaac. Your son is going to come through Isaac. And then Abraham had to transition to Isaac, and Isaac to Jacob. How are you going to transition? How are you going to transition your generation? One of the things that I really appreciated about Jen when she said at the end of her message, that the generations should, here, Pastor David, you stand up for a second? Generations, pretend this is Big Papa for a second, Pastor Chris. A little shorter, it's okay. But just pretend for a second. She said to stand next to your generation. She didn't say stand behind, but stand next to them. Are you standing next to your generation? We've got to stand next to our generation. I don't want to learn from Christopher looking at the back of his head. I want to be next to him. What do you want to do now? Okay, let's go. Okay, let's go. And a good leader, a good transitioner, like Chris, he's going to look at me and go, oh, what do you want to do? Where are you going to take me now? I'm just going to take off my armor here for a second. Lead me. How are we going to transition? Generational transfer. That's what I saw, Mike. That's what I saw. It said that Abraham, after that whole thing happened, Abraham immediately took his son Ishmael, who was 13 years old, and they were circumcised together on that day. Him being 99 and his son Ishmael being 13 years old. Took him that day, took an action step that day. What is your action step today? What is your action step going to be today? One last thing. Paul. Acts 9. Woo! I'm telling you what, I think about this. I can't think of a more, in Acts 9, can you think of a bigger transition in anyone's life? Ever. Ever. Verse 2. It says, Paul was requesting a letter of authorization. he could take to the Jewish leaders in Damascus, requesting their cooperation in finding and arresting any who were, followers of the way. He just went and got documentation. He just went and got papers. He just, anybody that proclaims Jesus, let's arrest him. Let's bring him to jail. He was dragging men and women to prison for following the way. Verse 8, Saul stood to his feet, and even though, so this is after he was struck blind on the road to Damascus. Isn't it funny, even when he said he was struck blind, who are you, Lord? I think he knew who he was talking to. Saul stood to his feet, and even though his eyes were open, he could see nothing. He was blind. So men had to take him by the hand and lead him into Damascus. For 3 days, he didn't eat, drink, and couldn't see a thing. Skip over to verse 18. So I'm skipping just a little part right here. There's Ananias is in the middle there. He's the one that's going to perform the healing. But it says, all at once, the crusty substance that was over Saul's eyes disappeared, and he could see immediately. He got up and was baptized. After eating a meal, his strength returned. Paul gets his revelation. He gets his revelation. Paul gets his revelation right there. He stood up, and it says in verse 20, within the hour, he was in the synagogues preaching about Jesus. Within the hour. It says that word hour is translated directly from the Aramaic. It says that it means hour. Within the hour. Talk about a transformation. What are you going to do in the next hour? I'm not asking you to do what Paul did. This is what God asked Paul to do. Or at the time, Saul. This was what he asked Saul to do. It's not what he's asking you to do, okay? I want to fill you in, though, back in verse 11 and 12. Ananias was freaked out. The Lord says, go at once to the street called Abundance and look for a man from Tarsus named Saul. You will find him at Judah's house. While he was praying, he saw in the supernatural vision a man named Ananias coming to lay hands upon him to restore his sight. Ananias means the Lord's gracious gift. Isn't that interesting? That his name means the Lord's gracious gift. It also means Yah is merciful. So when Paul got healed, he received mercy and he received grace. And why is Paul the biggest teacher? He's the best teacher. He's the teacher of grace. Did you know that grace, it's mentioned 125 times in the New Testament? You know how many times Paul says it? 120 of those times. I wonder why he was saved by Ananias. I wonder why he was healed by Ananias. I wonder why that anointing from Ananias, I don't think it was just a healing that it said that when the crust came off of his eyes and he could see, and it said that he was immediately baptized. It's like he knew exactly what to do as soon as the eyes were opened. As soon as your eyes are open, you know exactly what to do. You received your mercy and you received your grace. And then Paul goes on to talk about it 120 times throughout the rest of the New Testament. And then we wonder why he was saved by a man, healed by a man, whose name, the Lord is full of grace. The Lord is gracious.